Hello everyone and welcome back to the Kart Rider Drift League. We are in the midst of the postseason, getting closer and closer to the end. And today we have prepared the lower bracket finals for you. One of these teams is going to go and meet the Freaks in the finals later on in this postseason. I am State. With me is Peter. How you doing, Peter?
I am doing great. This postseason has had a pretty exciting start already with our teams and solos happening, and I just can't wait to get into it today. Yeah,
Liiv SANDBOX versus MIRAENSEJONG, and I think this is a match that a lot of fans have been looking forward to. I know that I've been looking forward to it, especially after MIRAENSEJONG had their victory over Sungnam Rocks. Both these teams had slightly different paths coming into the postseason, but I really don't know who is going to take this one. I mean, Liiv SANDBOX, I think on paper you got to give them the edge, but MIRAENSEJONG's been looking so strong. They're riding a winning streak right now. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's what makes it really fun because it's so well matched, and I'm sure the fans are looking forward to it as well. The question is, who moves on to the grand finals to meet Guangdong Freaks?
Here we take a look at the overall bracket for the postseason, how we got here. Of course, we are in the lower bracket finals. That is today. And the winner of this match is going to advance to the finals on December 9th to face off against the Guangdong Freaks. Now, is that going to be the perennial championship contenders Liiv SANDBOX, who in preseason 1 and preseason 2 made it to the finals but weren't able to beat the Freaks, or is MIRAENSEJONG, Hojin's new team, actually going to rise to the occasion and royal road this one?
Either way, we have a great story on our hands, and I'm sure today is going to be a hard-fought battle. I'm expecting us to even get to that ace match.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that MIRAENSEJONG, this new band of brothers that came through after, preseason 1 and preseason 2, it was formerly Sensation that was Hojin's roster, and then they rebanded with these new teams. They added some key players, and it has been such a winning formula for this squad. Really going to be a thrilling match today. I can't wait to get started, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, this is what the postseason is all about. We always have 4 banger of the teams up here, and of course, to incentivize those teams, we have a great prize pool here, a 100 million won for the champion, and for the runner-up, it's not as much.
Yeah, the prize pool overall is really quite something. I think pretty close to 200 million Korean won, which is just shy of 200,000 US dollars. 100 million going to the champions, as all the teams right now that we're going to see at least secured top 3. They're going to be fighting for the chance to become the champions should they defeat the Freaks in the finals on December 9th. And I know that everybody here competing today certainly has their eyes on this prize, because that is a hearty one. Of course, they're at the bottom of the MVP and the fan race MVP. Those are votes that take place through the fans. 500,000 Korean won going to both of those winners at the end of the season.
Yeah, and just like you mentioned, State, it's great that for all the teams here, worst case scenario, they secure that 20 million won prize, because you're going to get 3rd place as your worst result. So I'm sure that the teams are pretty happy with their results so far this season.
Yeah, but it is pretty crazy to think about the fact that even though this isn't the finals, we are playing with 20 million Korean won on the line today between these two teams, Liiv SANDBOX versus MIRAENSEJONG, and the fan vote has come in actually 68% in favor of MIRAENSEJONG. I know that players like Hojin, like Hero, they have a ton of fans.
Right.
So I think there's a little bit of favoritism there of Gart and Knock, of course, as well, just legends in the scene. But coming into this one, I thought that most fans would be expecting Liiv SANDBOX to emerge victorious and meet the Freaks again in the finals. But Peter, that's not the story this graph is telling us.
Exactly. Historically, Liiv SANDBOX has been one of our favorite teams here in the league. They have such a huge fan base because they have been the best team over and over again. But this result is really just telling us to the tough year that Liiv SANDBOX has been facing so far.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't really been their best showing. I have to say, Liiv SANDBOX, so far in the regular season, yes, they have secured top 3. But I gotta say, the path that they took to getting here was not as clean as preseason 1. It was not as clean as preseason 2. This roster is still star-studded. There have been some shakeups with players leaving to military service over the course of the preseason, but as it is right now, I mean, I feel like the results that we're seeing Liiv SANDBOX deliver isn't matching how good this team should be on paper. And so for me, that's kind of a conundrum. So I see where a lot of fans are coming from with Liiv SANDBOX only at 32%. I gotta say, personally, I expect this to be a lot closer to 50-50. I would be surprised if we didn't go to a round 6 or round 7, either in speed or in item mode. I would also be surprised if we didn't go to an ace match, considering how close these teams are contesting. But man, 68% for MIRAENSEJONG. That is a surprise to me.
Yeah, I think just as you pointed out earlier, Hojin has been the GOAT of Kart Rider for so long, so that may be as to why, but we are now ready to get into our picks and bans between our two teams.
Yeah, speed picks going to be coming in first here. Liiv SANDBOX with the first track selection. Of course, here in the KDL postseason, we're moving things on here in the pre-show with both the speed and item mode drafts before we get started with the main event. So once the action starts, it'll be non-stop. And the first pick coming in from Liiv SANDBOX is one that both Liiv SANDBOX and MIRAENSEJONG have very good records on. 4-2 for Liiv SANDBOX. I think that was 4-1 if I'm not mistaken there for MIRAENSEJONG. Glacier Extreme Stadium, a classic map.
Yeah, this track absolutely represents your veterancy. Players have played this track for so long and they just know all the ins and outs of it, so it's going to be a pretty confident pickup for Liiv SANDBOX here. And it seems like MIRAENSEJONG, they respond with Village Boom Hill Tunnel, another track that we've seen time and time again here.
Yeah, this is another track that both teams are certainly capable of, so it doesn't feel like we really have any snipes coming in terms of these teams particularly trying to choose a track where their opposing team does poorly, but they maybe do a little bit better. It seems like these are both kind of comfort picks coming through. Glacier Extreme Stadium, Village Boom Hill Tunnel, both Liiv SANDBOX and MIRAENSEJONG are exceptional on this one. Even Neil, especially on Boom Hill Tunnel, just feels so deadly. So MIRAENSEJONG really showing some confidence as the ban comes in. It's going to be World Tour Miami Drive, one of the field tracks, a little bit more chaotic, as that is the ban for MIRAENSEJONG, and we'll see what Liiv SANDBOX chooses to ban next.
I really like that ban on Miami Drive. Like previously, in the previous match, we've seen a ban come out on Handy Harbor, and it's because these tracks tend to get really snowbally. If you have an awful start, it could be really hard to come back. And now we see a response ban from Liiv SANDBOX. It's going to be Mine-Winding Slopes, another track that I do feel like is a bit snowbally. This is where if you fall behind, it can be difficult to catch up.
Yeah, and that's a track that, if I'm not mistaken, MIRAENSEJONG actually hasn't played thus far this season. So Liiv SANDBOX, they're not really trying to snipe that one away from MIRAENSEJONG. I think it's more about them just not being comfortable. It's one of their weaker tracks. They're 2-2 overall on the season on Mine-Winding Slopes, as pick number 3 is going to come in. And now this is the first one that truly does feel like a snipe. 2-0 record here for Liiv SANDBOX. 0-3 for MIRAENSEJONG. It's WKC Mexico Touring Rally.
Yeah, Mexico Touring Rally, a track that has been really popular ever since its introduction. And this is also a very wide track that has definitely been a trouble for MIRAENSEJONG thus far in this season. So I'm loving that pickup from Liiv SANDBOX as MIRAENSEJONG, they're taking their time for their 4th track.
Yeah, they're really allowing the clock to tick down until the last couple of seconds here. It's actually, it almost hit 0. It's going to be World Tour Terracotta Twister coming in for track number 4. Absolutely phenomenal one. Liiv SANDBOX hasn't particularly been strong thus far on this track, 3-3, whereas MIRAENSEJONG is 4-1. But I mean, Terracotta Twister, it's been a track, probably one of the most played tracks all the way going back to preseason 1 here in KDL. So I think both teams, despite the records, are going to be very comfortable here.
Definitely. Terracotta Twister is up there on that list, along with Glacier Extreme Stadium as one of our classic tracks that we see so many times between our veteran teams. And the second band coming out from MIRAENSEJONG, it's going to be the WKC Brazil circuit. And this is, we're seeing a trend here where I feel like MIRAENSEJONG, they're definitely straying away from the wider tracks.
Yeah, Brazil circuit, it is wide, but it has some choke points where if good sweeping comes in, it can be really dangerous. So perhaps showing some respect to Hyunsu, the sweeper there on Liiv SANDBOX, by banning out Brazil circuit there, as we're going to wait and see what Liiv SANDBOX's ban will be. They've been pretty rapid with this, and actually going to be Factory Facility 5, and that doesn't surprise me too much as a ban coming in. Facility 5 kind of plays different from all the other speed tracks that we have here on this list, and Liiv SANDBOX just going to go with, I think, more of their bread and butter kind of standard technical tracks, as that's really been their picks all the way through this on Glacier Extreme Stadium, on Mexico Touring Rally, and I'm expecting here on round 5 we'll see more of the same. And yeah, Desert Construction Chaos, these are all tracks that usually over the course of the regular season you will see the more rookie teams try to ban these ones out, and the veteran teams try to pick them because they can be very punishing if you don't know what you're doing.
I feel like Liiv SANDBOX is really taking a good look at the record so far this season, because on Desert Construction Chaos, MIRAENSEJONG, they played 3 matches and they lost all 3 times. So it feels like Liiv SANDBOX is kind of just targeting their opponent when it comes to their tracks, you know, picking out the ones they know their opponent struggled on.
Yeah, certainly on round 3 and round 5. Glacier Extreme Stadium, both these teams are exceptional there, but I mean, your point absolutely rings true for these last couple of picks by Liiv SANDBOX. Is Shanghai Circuit will be the round 6 selection coming through, and wow, that is a mismatch if I've ever seen one. 3-1 for MIRAENSEJONG, 0-2 for Liiv SANDBOX.
Yeah, we're seeing that strategy now come out from MIRAENSEJONG as well, saying, hey, if you guys want to nitpick at our bad records, then here's some for you as well. And now, of course, Liiv SANDBOX, they're going to be able to pick their 4th track of the series because they have that speed priority. So now we see that round 7 track being selected quite fast here. It seems like it's going to be Bayside Bridge Run. Yeah,
another track that, when I think of Bayside Bridge Run, I think of Neil. He's quite good on these village tracks. He has some very interesting builds. I mean, they call him the genius for a reason. He's exceptional on these. And now we have the speed track list here for the lower bracket finals. All selected as our teams are going to get ready to choose the item mode in just a moment. And I got to say, from that draft, I feel like Liiv SANDBOX is coming through on top. Just strictly speaking in terms of the draft, I'm not trying to make any big prediction about what the result for speed is going to be based on the map selection. But I kind of like that pick ban phase for Liiv SANDBOX a little bit more than MIRAENSEJONG. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's because it's really relatable because it lined up with the stats we have, so it wasn't based on scrim data that we just have no information on whatsoever. It was actually based on the season, and it also helps that they had the speed priority.
Yeah, I mean, of course, speed priority going to be so big here, especially for MIRAENSEJONG, which has been looking to be a little bit revitalized in speed mode. So, going to turn our eyes now to the item draft, as MIRAENSEJONG will be able to come out with the first pick and instantly locking in Village Clock Tower Crossing as truck number 1. And this is kind of a surprising one. MIRAENSEJONG, they haven't played this track at all over the course of the regular season. No record whatsoever, and Liiv SANDBOX is undefeated on it. So I'm expecting MIRAENSEJONG in their scrims leading up to this, practicing over the past week, have been cooking up something special here on Clock Tower Crossing.
That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like MIRAENSEJONG, they brought out their trump card that no one was expecting, and now Liiv SANDBOX are going to quickly bring out Graveyard Dark Castle, and this is a very tempo-based track, one of our more tempo-based ones we have, because of the fact that items can simply knock you out of the track while you're going through the jumps that the track forces you to do. So I feel like this really suits Liiv SANDBOX's playstyle well. They love having Jimin lead.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Jimin, formerly the item ace of Liiv SANDBOX, now a hybrid player as he's been really coming back into his own as a speed racer. Absolutely loves tracks like this one. Graveyard Dark Castle, over the course of the regular season, Liiv SANDBOX had an outstanding record, and they were also able to take a win versus the Freaks previously, earlier on in the postseason on Dark Castle. So, really a good opportunity for them to get some points on the board early, as Forest Misty Falls was the first ban coming in for Team Liiv SANDBOX as MIRAENSEJONG. See the coaches, Hojin, it feels like a whole team discussion about exactly what the game plan is going to be here.
Yeah, but I really love that ban coming out from Liiv SANDBOX and Forest Misty Falls, because MIRAENSEJONG, they're really great at these forest tracks, as we see World Tour London Night being banned out by MIRAENSEJONG here. And this is a track that Liiv SANDBOX has struggled on throughout the season, so they must be once again going through some scrim data for their item picks and bans.
Yeah, or perhaps it's a track that they just feel a little bit less comfortable on, and I mean, it's kind of hard to say. Even if your opposing team isn't exceptionally good at a track, if you also feel not comfortable, you don't want it to come through as a pick for yourself. So
for sure.
I like that choice coming in for MIRAENSEJONG as we wait to see what their 3rd track selection is going to be.
They ran the clock all the way down on this one, despite having an easy choice on their track 1.
Yeah, I'm expecting the pick had already come in. It just took a moment for that one to load up, as it was Venice Gondola Tour, if I'm not mistaken there. Both these teams 2-0 so far, and that also, I think that includes, I believe that includes the postseason data where Liiv SANDBOX was actually able to take that track win against Guangdong Freaks of all teams. So MIRAENSEJONG actually showing a lot of confidence coming in here on Venice.
Yeah, both teams have had a pretty good record so far this season, so I think it's just going to be kind of like an ego battle. Hey, we're better than you at this, and we'll get to see that result today as Liiv SANDBOX. They're looking to bring in Mind Mother Load for their 2nd track of item, and they do have a pretty stellar win rate here, but so do their opponents. Yeah,
now this is an interesting setup. Track 2, 3, and 4 here in item mode with MIRAENSEJONG versus Liiv SANDBOX is completely parallel to Liiv SANDBOX versus Guangdong Freaks. Round 2 Dark Castle, round 3 Venice, round 4 Mind Mother Load. Liiv SANDBOX won all 3 of those tracks when they played against the Freaks, so I'm kind of liking the way this one is shaping up for them to start as the next ban comes in. Actually, going to be Forest Mushroom Caves. A surprising ban for me. Generally, I think Liiv SANDBOX tends to excel on these forest tracks, but perhaps not feeling too confident right now on Mushroom Caves.
I think it's because MIRAENSEJONG, they just boast such a great record on the forest thematic tracks right now. In fact, Mushroom Caves is the track they play the most in this season.
Wow, you're right.
Yeah, 8 tracks, they won 6 times, so 75% win rate. I was expecting that ban to come in along with Misty Fall, so I love the respect that Liiv SANDBOX has for their opponent right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That is a good ban coming in. Mushroom Caves with 6 wins, maybe the most wins that any team might have on an item track. Now that I think about it, I think it's rare that we see any team win more than 5 times on a track over the course of the regular season. I mean, the round robin, you only play 7 matches, right? So the fact that that map has been coming in time and time again, and MIRAENSEJONG's been so successful on that track too. They play it basically every single time. They played it 8 times. So yeah, I'm with you. You converted me. I'm happy with that ban from Liiv SANDBOX.
Absolutely, and MIRAENSEJONG, they're going to bring in their 3rd track of item, which is going to be Mine Magma Cavern, and I feel like Magma Cavern is a track that we've seen less throughout the regular season.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're glad to see it back because a team like MIRAENSEJONG with so many veteran players, they have to be able to handle it pretty well.
I'm a little sad that we don't see it as often right now in the current KDL season. Mine Magma Cavern, it's personally, I think, my favorite.
Right.
Of all of the item tracks, there's some really cool chokes points where you can set up water balloons, especially close to the finish line, have game-changing plays. Especially if you go in for rockets, because most people use the balloon that turns the rocket effect into a banana effect. You can, with some aggression, cause a lot of players to spin out on turns into the lava, and they have to reset back on the track. So it's really fun to watch, really fun to play. And the round 6 track now coming in. Neither of these teams actually picking up a win, but for Liiv SANDBOX, it's a little bit less bad on World Tour Seaflame base. 0-1 compared to the 0-3 there for MIRAENSEJONG.
Yeah, I feel like Seaplane base is kind of a weird one because you want to be focused on your tempo, but also at the same time, the itemization really matters near the end. So it's like a track mixing both strategies. As the final track of item comes in here for MIRAENSEJONG, it is going to be the Glacier Polar Halfpipe, I believe. Yeah,
so both on track 6 and track 7, these are tracks that neither team is really comfortable with. They both have kind of underwhelming records on those tracks, to put it very lightly.
Yep.
But I mean, the fact that we're going from a best of 5 format to a best of 7 format means that you kind of need to start going into the bottom of the barrel when it comes to the drafts if you actually want to get through it. So I feel like, again, because of track 2, 3, and 4 going way of Liiv SANDBOX, the fact that they were able to beat the Freaks on those tracks in item mode previously, I'm kind of liking this draft for Liiv SANDBOX as well. I was thinking coming into this one that MIRAENSEJONG and LSB might be a little bit more 50-50, but after seeing the drafts, the way they actually shook out, I'm really liking Liiv SANDBOX's position here.
And that might be the advantage that Liiv SANDBOX has a team, because MIRAENSEJONG, they have so many veteran players, but this is their first season playing together as a team, whereas Liiv SANDBOX in preseason 2, they already built this roster, and they've had plenty of time to practice, so we're seeing that veterancy really show off here.
Yeah, it just felt like a very solid draft from top to bottom there for Liiv SANDBOX, and I really can't wait to get started on this one, man. I feel like we watched both the speed draft and the item draft, and now I'm all angsty to get started and actually get into the action here as we take a look very quickly at the postseason results for both these teams. Now, Liiv SANDBOX, they were defeated by the Freaks. That's why they fell to the lower bracket finals here against MIRAENSEJONG. MIRAENSEJONG, they were able to take out ROX Esports with a 4-3 win in speed, a 1-4 loss in item, but Hoja the Emperor came through in the clutch for the ace match to deliver them here into the lower bracket finals.
That's the story between the two teams right now. Ever since we got to postseason, Liiv SANDBOX, they played one game and they have really struggled, whereas MIRAENSEJONG, it feels like their momentum has only just started. So it's going to be interesting to contrast those two differing stories.
Yeah, and I feel like the Freaks really dominated Liiv SANDBOX there in speed mode, but the Freaks are frankly just the best speed mode team on the planet right now. I don't think there's really any comparison with them, especially this season. It almost feels like the skill gap has widened from KDL preseason 1 and preseason 2 coming into this one as we take a look at the race history. Now, Liiv SANDBOX and MIRAENSEJONG, during the round robin phase, they did face off, and it was one of the most one-sided victories that we actually had here in the KDL regular season. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, I don't have the stats in front of me, I think we might have only had 1 perfect race this entire season, maybe 2 at most. And this was about as close to perfect as you're going to get. 3-1 in speed for MIRAENSEJONG, 3-0 in item mode. Fan race MVP going to MSJ's Hero, and for good reason, because in speed mode, he was constantly at the top of the pack. MIRAENSEJONG, they didn't really get the 1-2 finishes very often, but Hero was able to stand on his own in first place or in second place and deliver enough points that the midfield for MSJ could carry through in speed, and then they rode that momentum all the way through item mode. So Liiv SANDBOX, although the draft is looking a little bit better for them today, historically so far this season, a bit shaky against MSJ.
That's the problem with Liiv SANDBOX. They were great at capitalizing wins against amateur teams, but against professional teams in important matches, they really struggled.
Yeah, now this is an interesting stat page that we have for you guys. So the Scythe, one of these carts that has a relatively thin but long cart body, wasn't used in KDL speed mode until day 6 throughout all matches for the entire set. It was first used by Neil, and since Neil started using the Scythe, Liiv SANDBOX hasn't lost in speed. They're 4-0 in sets. They started the season 1-2, and part of that was because, I mean, let's be honest, the strength of schedule for them at the very beginning of the season, I think they faced, if memory serves, I think it was Kwangdong Freaks. They kicked off against the Freaks, and I think they might have also played MIRAENSEJONG, so there were some really tough battles right out of the gate. But since then, they have just been absolutely dominating. You can kind of see, Desperado on the 28th, they started using the Scythe for the full set. Rox Esports, Nutmite, always, MIRAENSEJONG, and KDF, everybody has kind of been transitioning to this new meta that Neil has established in using the Scythe. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this one shakes out here today. I mean, Neil has just been so clutch. I got a little bit of a preview on the cart bodies coming into this one. He's rolling it again, the Scythe today. Can they keep that win streak up? I'm really curious.
Yeah, but now we got to take a look at the point of the race for our item matchup. And Jimin and Byungsu, these two have been the pillars, excuse me, for Liiv SANDBOX as far as item mode went. But MIRAENSEJONG, you look over there and it's like they have 3 players. So is it a 3v2? Does MIRAENSEJONG have a big advantage? Maybe.
Yeah, it does kind of feel that way. I mean, I feel like Nock would basically be the item ace on almost any team that he would go on, but the fact that MIRAENSEJONG is running only a 4-man roster means that he basically has the hybrid role where he's excelling in speed, and at the same time he's also delivering in ace matches, and at the same time he's also probably the shot caller almost full-time for the item mode. And the fact that MIRAENSEJONG has been so solid, they had a pretty impressive winning streak in item over the course of the regular season. I'm kind of with you. It does feel like it's maybe a little bit of a 2v3 in terms of the top racers.
Yeah, now we're going to take a look at the ace match results here so far, and Liiv SANDBOX.
Yeah, they have played 0 ace matches over the course of this entire regular season. They're the only team, I think, that hasn't played a single ace match, whereas on MIRAENSEJONG's side of things, they've played the most out of everybody. Hojin is 2-0, Nock is 1-0, Guard and Hero both went defeated. They're 0-3 in total, but it's kind of an interesting comparison between these two teams, and it makes you wonder, if Liiv SANDBOX isn't able to close this one out in a 2-0, if they don't sweep in speed and sweep an item and just get the clean victory and send everybody here home early, if it goes to an ace match, are they going to be rusty? They haven't played an official ace match in the KDL since preseason 2. It has been so long, and if you think back, Peter, to preseason 2 and preseason 1, Liiv SANDBOX, for whatever reason, despite always having such an impressive roster, it felt like they seemed to struggle in the aces. Neil would sometimes come in, have an an unexpected choke. Whereas MIRAENSEJONG, it feels like they're kind of like Rox Esports of bygone times, where they just get an ace match time after time after time again. So really an interesting comparison there. I hope we make it to an ace.
Yeah, and here are the key racers for both our teams today. Hyunsu for Liiv SANDBOX has been so consistent. And on the other side, Hero, I feel like this is also another player that we can give props for being consistent. So today it's going to be a big rivalry matchup between these two players.
Yeah, Hero is 3rd overall in average speed rank over the course of the entire season. Average position is closer to 3rd place than 4th place, and given how tough the competition is here in the KDL, I mean, 1st place is looning on Rox, who is no longer in the postseason. They were eliminated from contention. He's at 306, so Hero's right behind him, top 3 overall in speed. I'm absolutely looking to him, especially considering how effective he was against Hyunsu when these two teams faced off in the round-robin stage, whereas Hyunsu, I mean, his sweeping has earned him so many fan race MVPs. Match 4 against Finale, match 14 against Always, and then match 25 against Desperado. He has really been a clutch player for Team Liiv SANDBOX.
And we got to take a look at a little preview of the ace match between the two players back in preseason 1. But once again, that's preseason 1. It's so far away. And Kartrider as a game has changed so much as well that if these two players do come out today, I feel like they'll be fighting on a clean slate. So I'm potentially looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and it's really an interesting match as we get here, look at the lower third in terms of what the team predictions are going to be. And this is probably the least one-sided it's ever been. I feel like generally when we have team predictions like this, it's one team massively favored over the other, but we have the Freaks, Rox Esports, Vidali, and Nutmite all predicting either a 2-0 win or an ace win for Team Liiv SANDBOX, whereas for MIRAENSEJONG, Desperado, and Always expect them to go to ace. And I feel like if it does go to an ace match, which Nutmite, Desperado, and Team Always are all expecting, I have to give the edge to MIRAENSEJONG. They just have so much more experience this season.
Yeah, I also agree with you, which is why I think our professional teams here are rather two of the professional teams remaining. They picked Liiv SANDBOX winning 2-0 because that might be their only win condition. They can't get rusty all in the mud with MIRAENSEJONG because MIRAENSEJONG, they're kind of the experts at that right now. Yeah,
and the fan vote, I think, again, looking back to it, was like 55 or 60% or something for MIRAENSEJONG, but I feel like this is going to be a really close, really exciting lower bracket finals. And guys, we're going to go to a break. When we get back, the lower bracket finals will kick off between Liiv SANDBOX and MIRAENSEJONG. We'll see you soon.
Fifth place right now. We have a tight-knit group as we move into the second lap.
Yeah, we, again, have a lot of racers that are kind of close to the bottom of the pack in terms of overall standing. This is his track of choice, and I gotta say, he's been working his way up the standings very nicely thus far. That was a really tricky maneuver he just did right there, kind of avoiding some of the more unfortunate collisions as he stays in contention for a podium finish. 400 meters left to go for first place. It's going to be between Luning and Hyunsu. You are the 100 meters left to go. Hyunsu barely has enough speed off that draft to take first place back. And had he not gone 8th place on the previous track, hold on, and you see all these blocks coming through. The gap between these Desperado racers. Oh my goodness.
Guard is doing such an excellent job right now, living up to his.
And this has been the winning formula for MSJ all season long. I mean, look at the bottle, the body fights that are happening. Guard can cause issues like this. I mean, look at how many meters are separating these Desperado racers. Hero and Guard are like an impenetrable wall that Ghost and the rest of his teammates cannot pass.
And speed, with such a dominating performance, Hojin and Nok, they're so far ahead that third place is going to be locked in.
Of a win, and Ghost once again all by his lonesome. The lone racer for Desperado in the top 4.
This is not looking great. Ghost is trying all he can. Actually, he bought a lot of space there for Striker to come in, but you got to keep in mind that MIRAENSEJONG, they're not far behind.
Their line that was really nice was able to take the lead away from Nok for a moment there. Perhaps that momentum slowing is going to allow Ghost, after a really considerable collision, will allow him to catapult himself into first place. And Desperado looking really strong under pressure now.
Off of all those collisions, Desperado is firmly in the lead. Promise went for such an ambitious play, but it backfires on him. Now Hero is having that first place. Right now they're exchanging these crazy lines between Ghost and Hero, but Hero's in the lead. MIRAENSEJONG, they are far behind. They need Nok to knock Promise off the track.
That Promise falls down. I think that might be enough for MIRAENSEJONG to be able to convert the win. They desperately needed Promise to stick in those top ranks, and man, you can see Promise, kind of a look of frustration there. It's some last.
Place now.
Hero's still in first place, but all eyes are on Neil, the winner of the first track. He's been really good with his nitrous gauge.
Oh my god!
That's
all eyes, but now it's just bad stuff happening for Neil. Such a huge
effectively for 1v1. And at first place as Boong is slowly starting to gain the distance. Oh man, Spencer is coming out for both Hero and Sungmin. Sungmin navigating it, I want to say, a little bit better as we come down the stretch. 400 meters left to go.
Hero is holding on to this lead right now, but Sungmin gets an impeccable draft timing, and he comes in first, takes it away from Hero. And off we go into round 7 of our round of 16 winners match here in solo pool. Once again, he's not too far ahead, so I'm assuming he's going to build more on the booster gauge for now and look to catch up later.
Yeah, and cool also to this on Wednesday, when it was track number 3, was he took his time, he played lower in the positions, he just waited for his opportunity to strike. He waited for a collision in the front of the pack to just kind of weave his way through, thread the needle, and go try cross that finish line in first place. We'll see if he goes with the same game plan here.
He's been trying, but there's so many obstacles in his way. Boong and Heal completely blocking his lines right now.
Ooh.
So many collisions happening, but it's just helping out Hero, Sungbin, and Heal.
He's a little bit far behind right now. Oh, especially that collision took a lot of momentum away, but he is working his way up. And let's keep in mind that all these little collisions that are inevitably going to happen here on the top, they might give him a chance as he's going for the Neil build. Very reminiscent of the way that he won 3 in a row previously. Does he go for the spin turn again here? He does! Cool!
Cool.
Briefly work his way up to first place with a collision off of Sungbin there. Oh man, he tried to make the magic happen once more.
Whoa.
Will he be able to do it? It's him versus Yunsu. He does have a nitrous.
Oh,
Yunsu!
cool.
He clips the lead. 130 meters to go. And Cool for the second time in a row on Wednesday, on Saturday, he wins 3 tracks in a row. Unbelievable.
Man, Cool is just living up to his name. You can see it on his face. He knows he's cool right now. He shows us that 3P here once again, and it felt like the odds were against him when he got collided into. But at the end, he's able to boop off Sungbin, boop off Yunsu, and take that first place for himself.
Oh man, that was absolutely unbelievable. He went
Everybody get down when we give it to you. Everybody feel it come around with the rhythm, it's a sound. Everybody get down when we give it to you. Everybody feel it come around with the rhythm, it's a sound. Everybody get down, everybody get down.
Everybody feel it come around with the rhythm, it's a sound. Everybody get down when we give it to you. Everybody feel it come around, everybody feel it come around, everybody sound. Everybody get down.
better add the respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck when I burn you like. This ain't a game, my aim is to throw. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone, throw it off in my brain and I'm bad to the bone.
Welcome back, everybody. We are just about ready to get started with the lower bracket finals between Liiv SANDBOX and MIRAENSEJONG. In a moment, the teams will take to the stage for the intros. If you missed the pre-show, I'm here with Peter, and we are getting so close to the end, my guy. I mean, everything is on the line right now. Just in this match, 20 million Korean won between second place and third place. That's the difference. On top of it, the winner of this match going to go all the way to the finals to play the Freaks. I cannot wait to get started.
Yeah, today is such an important day like any other, but as you say, the more time goes on, the more important things get. So I'm super excited to see the matchup. We have the picks and bans, and honestly, it's been kind of Liiv SANDBOX favored, you said, State. So
it feels that way. It
we'll see what
certainly feels
happens.
that way. But I mean, MIRAENSEJONG, I feel like, is a team that you really don't know what to expect from. They're only a 4-man roster, but they play like they have so much depth. They've really kind of formed a super team in a way, led by Hojun, their team captain, the legend himself. Hero also, as the speed ace, has really stepped up into his role. And you know, I feel like, as you were saying, the draft, it did go, in my opinion, Liiv SANDBOX's way, both for speed, both for item. But once we actually get into the games, anything can happen.
yeah, anything can happen, especially in a matchup like this where both teams are such big veterans. And honestly, I feel like this speed priority going over to Liiv SANDBOX is going to be the key factor here. If Liiv SANDBOX can win speed, that's going to be their pivotal win condition.
Yeah, but I feel like they have to stop, not just at speed, but carry that win all the way to item mode, because MIRAENSEJONG, as the team that has played the most ace matches, is going to be so prepared should this one go to a best-of-1 ace. Liiv SANDBOX now taking the stage, the 5-man squad, the unsinkable fleet, Neil, Jimin, Byungsu, Hyunsu, and Dalda, the item ace, excuse me, all coming in. And let's see if they can continue their success from KDL preseason 1 and preseason 2, as they were consistently able to make it their way to the finals, but were not able to hoist that championship trophy. Of course, the preseason, that was really just us getting ready for this, the regular season. All of these wins, all of these stats, all of these matches are going into the record books. And MIRAENSEJONG here with their debut performance, this newly formed roster out of KDL preseason 2 coming now into the regular season. Hero, Hojun, Guard, and Nog. I mean, it is basically a super team, Peter. It's looking going to be a great match.
I especially love how confident MIRAENSEJONG looked coming onto the stage. For a team that was newly formed this season around, they certainly act like they've been around as long as Liiv SANDBOX, and certainly they play like they did, so no points taken off MIRAENSEJONG there.
Now, MIRAENSEJONG just emerged victorious from Songnam Rocks to get here to the lower bracket finals. Liiv SANDBOX in the upper bracket finals did fall to the Freaks, and so now they're looking for their redemption to try and get that rematch. You see the stats right now on screen. Neil not really having the best run of his career. I feel like a big drop off from KDL preseason 1 and preseason 2. He's 20th overall in the speed rate standing, so all eyes are going to be on him if he can step up now in the postseason, as Liiv SANDBOX, a little bit of friendliness there. It's the transitional season from fall to winter. Be careful not to catch our cold. Rings true for all of our friends and fans watching from the Northern Hemisphere. Stay safe, everybody.
Yeah, Liiv SANDBOX, they have absolutely nothing to say to MIRAENSEJONG there.
No.
I guess they don't know if they're playing against MIRAENSEJONG today. They just want to play Cartwriter like they used to, forget about anything from this season. They don't even know it's MIRAENSEJONG. For all they know, this could be Sensation they're up against, which is a team that they had good success on, and they might need that mindset here.
MIRAENSEJONG saying that Hojin's experience led them to an ace match victory in the past, and a journey to break through to the finals will now continue. And the stats on screen, Hero and Hojin, really the 1-2 punch. At the top of speed, they have been absolutely spectacular. Two of the best individual racers on any team thus far this season, as they say. We've come here to challenge you, but we've got to leave soon as our next opponent, the Freaks, are waiting. MIRAENSEJONG, I mean, you were saying they look confident coming onto the stage. Feeling confident in that little quip as well.
Yeah, MIRAENSEJONG, absolutely. They had such a high coming into this postseason. They're just racking up all the momentum here. They just need to add Liiv SANDBOX to their line of opponents they defeated. As we take a look at the speed track list, it was Liiv SANDBOX taking 4 tracks of their choice here.
Yeah, and they won the coin toss, so that was their selection to prioritize speed here, is they really want to win speed mode against MIRAENSEJONG at all costs. There are 4 picks coming in: Glacier Extreme Stadium, Mexico Touring Rally, Desert Construction Chaos, and Bayside Bridge Run. I feel like all generally favor them. I think Liiv SANDBOX in general has the better map selection over the course of these 7 tracks. But not to say that, you know, MIRAENSEJONG got completely outdrafted. I would say this is probably maybe a 60-40 advantage in terms of tracks here for Liiv SANDBOX. But MIRAENSEJONG, Hojin and Hero especially, as individual racers, have been so formidable. If they can continue to deliver the same way that they have all season long, it's going to be a really close match.
Yeah, that match is going to start right here on our round number 1 in speed. The track chosen by Liiv SANDBOX. We're going to move into Glacier Extreme Stadium.
All right, everybody, it is time to kick off the lower bracket finals between Liiv SANDBOX and MIRAENSEJONG. Track win rate right now favoring MIRAENSEJONG at Liiv SANDBOX. The Soo duo, Byung-Soo and Hyun-Soo, off to a fantastic start. Hero trying his best to close the distance.
Hero was trying, but Byung-Soo and Hyun-Soo, they move in such a unison, not giving room at all. You can see MIRAENSEJONG, they are really struggling in the midfield.
Yeah, they are struggling in the midfield a lot, actually. Neil and Jimin actually rounding out the top 5. So Hero is all by his lonesome, man. I mean, thinking back to previous MSJ matches, Hero versus Liiv SANDBOX during the regular season. Oh, Jimin, what a pass coming through. Hero was the one lone racer that was able to take pole position or second place and allowed MSJ to fortify their midfield into a winning position. But here, about halfway through lap number 1, going through the hairpin turns, now in the final stretch, Hero's all the way down in 4th place. It's a 1-2-3 right now for LSB.
It's like we went back in time using a time machine. This is the pre-season Liiv SANDBOX form we are witnessing right now. The blocks have been phenomenal from Hyun-Soo, and it allowed Jimin to catch up. You can see right now so many crazy plays being executed by Liiv SANDBOX.
Yeah, even a really impressive line there by Neil, taking some very sharp turns and finishing them with boost, trying to close the distance here on Hero, as Jimin once again able to pass. MSJ Hero, he does have Hojin, the legend himself, coming in to join the ranks, but there isn't much track left. We're about halfway through lap number 2. Hairpin turns will be coming up here in just a moment, and I'm getting a little bit worried about this position for MSJ.
Yeah, Hero needs to clutch this right now against 2 players. The Soo duos, he's making it happen. He passed Hyun-Soo, but he now needs to pass Byung-Soo as Hyun-Soo comes in with an excellent collision. Look at Hyun-Soo's line. He's blocking Hero from that 1-2.
Yeah, and the Nitrous is so in favor of Byung-Soo and Hyun-Soo. It's going to be an easy 1-2 finish. Oh, even a 1-2-3 as LSB opens this best of 7 in speed with a stunning statement. That was a domination from beginning to end. They never relinquished the 1-2 lead. The Soo duo absolutely impeccable. And I feel like that wasn't even as close as it looked. It didn't look close, but it was even less close than that, because coming down that final stretch, the boost was so far in favor of LSB. Because Byung-Soo and Hyun-Soo had a handful of those blue nitrous gauges ready for them in the final hairpin. I mean, that was just such a stunning performance, and MSJ now Gonna be looking to try and get this one back to a 1-1. LSB looking really strong out of the gates.
Yeah, Liiv SANDBOX absolutely look like a completely different team than we've seen in the regular split so far. I'm loving the sweeping coming out from Liiv SANDBOX. The Sioux duels, they were absolutely on point in that early phase of the game.
All right, let's get ready to go to Village Boom Hill Tunnel here for track number 2. Liiv SANDBOX versus MIRAENSEJONG continuing on. Can MSJ tie it up to 1-1?
And the race begins. MIRAENSEJONG looking to put a point back on the board in their own track of choice here, where we see both teams boasting a pretty high track winning rate.
Yeah, and it's actually a very interesting start for both of them. Hojun is in the lead, but right behind him, oh my goodness!
Ooh.
All 3 racers for LSB able to pass Hojun there for a moment as they all took the same tight inner line. And now Neil on that scythe cart. LSB has been so effective ever since Neil switched to the scythe earlier on in the regular season. They're looking to be in a really good position, but right now, 1, 4, 6, 7, slightly favoring MSJ.
This is a much better position for MIRAENSEJONG compared to round 1. Now Hojun, he needs to keep this lead somehow. In fact, he gets an excellent block off there, prevents Neil from getting the pass through.
Yeah, Neil actually had so much momentum that if Hojun hadn't come through with a block, I feel like Hojun would be eating Neil's dust right now, but Hojun so good as everyone's gonna go for this build on the left side of the bridge. Everyone taking that shortcut near flawlessly. They're coming through. Will he have any spin turns? It seems like nope, not here. And Neil, he's gonna try and pass. Oh man, a little bit of a mistake right there as we caught the curve. And that's gonna have Hojun locked in here in first place.
Hero?
And with Hero coming in now in second, that's gonna be a 1-2 finish here for MSJ.
My goodness, that was Hojun just being on form the whole entire time of that race. He managed to actually get a block onto Neil, and I feel like that's what threw off the line from Neil. And then Hero came in as well. Neil was just having so much pressure on him that he crumbled and gave that 1-2 over to MIRAENSEJONG.
I mean, that final stretch just got so chaotic so quickly. It was really hard to play-by-play and actually understand what happened that caused LSB's Neil, Hyunsu, and Jimin to kind of lose some distance there. And so MSJ immediately fighting back, able to get their first victory on the board. And so the best of 7 will now come down into a best of 5. 3 more wins for each team to secure the speed mode victory. And for MIRAENSEJONG, that was a critical win there on track number 2.
Yeah, this is an exciting way to kick off our speed match between our 2 teams. It feels like MIRAENSEJONG, they're really starting to kick back. We've seen that Hojun is absolutely on form today, so let's see if MIRAENSEJONG can make miracles happen here on track number 3, WKC Mexico Touring Rally.
Continuing on here in track number 3, WKC Mexico Touring Rally, Liiv SANDBOX 2-0, MSJ 0-3. So on paper, looking really good for LSB in terms of the overall draft to pick this track, but MIRAENSEJONG coming really strong out of the gates, both knock and guard. Kind of surprising, actually, Peter, that it's knock and guard leading the pack. Usually it's Hojun and Hero, the 1-2 punch.
Yeah, and you can see Guard is absolutely keeping his eyes on the backline of Liiv SANDBOX there. He went for such a sharp turn and prevented Neil from getting a sharp inner. And now you can see the lead MIRAENSEJONG. They're able to capitalize off this. They want to hold on to this 1-2, but Byung-Soo is keeping hopes alive for Liiv SANDBOX.
Yeah, some nice passes right there on Hojun for the rear ranks of Liiv SANDBOX as Hyunsu with his outer line going to try and turn that into an inner here coming through on knock. Will he actually be able to pass? It seems not just yet. Getting closer and closer. Man, both the Sioux trying their best to get past knock. This might give Guard the opportunity with a draft to pass them as well. But the 2-3-4 right now would be a winning condition for LSB if they can lock it down, but it's so close.
You can see Nock is so fixated on trying to sweep out the Sioux duos right now, and he's done a great job. He's still maintaining that first place, bought enough time for Guard to move forward. I feel like MIRAENSEJONG, they have a better grasp on this top field.
I mean, that all comes down to Nock blocking Hyunsu and Byung-Soo. It's so hard to win this 1v2.
Oh my.
And finally, LSB, they are able to pass
The
it.
Sioux
300
duos.
meters left to go into the finish line, but Hojun here on the outer does a flawless play. Is able to go through, and that's MSJ with a 1-2 finish again. Hojun on the right side, Nock on the left side, and while it was looking really good for LSB in the final moments, MIRAENSEJONG absolutely stepped it up. And man, what a response to that opening track win from Liiv SANDBOX. MIRAENSEJONG did not lose any confidence, now leading the series 2-1.
You can see off this round right here why MIRAENSEJONG is such a highly regarded team. Despite Hojin having a phenomenal run near the end there, I feel like we got to give a lot of credits to Nok, who was able to keep that Su duo locked in his grasp for so long that it allowed the advantage to eventually topple over for MIRAENSEJONG's favor.
Oh yeah, Nok is 100% my racer MVP on that track. He played that so well. The blocking in a 1v2, especially on a track like Mexico, is so hard to pull off, but he really made it work. And now MSJ riding some momentum. They've won the last 2 tracks in a row. Can they carry this one to another win? Let's go to track number 4, World Tour Terracotta Twister.
And the race kicks off. MIRAENSEJONG, they are now bringing us to this round 4 in their track choice, and they do have a pretty stellar win record here. You can see Hojin already going for really aggressive plays, and Hyunsu, he just eats the dust on that one.
Yeah, man, that was right off of a
another
boost
one.
too. He lost so much momentum on that one, as Hyunsu is really gonna have to try to claw his way back, but you know, Terracotta Twister, it's a very windy track. It feels a little bit longer than some of these other speed tracks that we have here in Team Speed, so lots of opportunities for Hyunsu to eventually close the distance. For now, it is Jimin, the former item ace of LSB, who is leading the charge right now in first place. Can he hold on to it? Hojin and Nok are knocking on his door, but he's navigating this perfectly. But Hojin, man, what a line coming through. And even Nok, for a moment there, looked like he might be able to pass Jimin, but instead it's just Hojin.
Yeah, Jimin finds a good response there as well, making sure to keep Nok at bay. But you can see the 1-2 win condition is more favoring MIRAENSEJONG right now. So much pressure on Jimin's shoulder. And Hojin, he's been finding great lines that keeps him out of the draft range.
Yeah, but Hyunsu and Neil are right behind Nok. If they can get some couple drafts right now coming in and take some really greedy lines, they might be able to join Jimin here in the lead ranks. And, you know, even if Hojin and Nok finish with a 2-3, that's not going to be enough, as the midfield for LSB is so strong. Neil and Byungsu rounding out the top 6 means that it's 23-16 right now in total on the points, as Hyunsu fighting back. I mean, keep in mind, on lap number 1, he had that terrible start. He had clipped the corner, lost so much momentum, and here he is now fighting for top 3, but Hojin threads the needle.
He does that, but now Liiv SANDBOX is responding back. Jimin and Hyunsu absolutely on board. Nok went for a Hail Mary play, and it worked out because now Hojin has the room. MIRAENSEJONG, they are quite far behind. Hojin clips the wall as well. It's looking so bad for MIRAENSEJONG right now as Liiv SANDBOX, they lock in their 1-2-3.
Man, this one just keeps going back and forth. Now we are all tied 2-2. And I gotta really commend Hyunsu for that comeback. That was a dismal beginning for him. That was as bad as you could possibly get. Just hitting that corner, losing so much momentum, fresh off of a nitrous. But over the course of that entire track, he was able to fight his way back, join the mid ranks, actually finish in 2nd place overall, as it's Jimin and Hyunsu with a 1-2 finish, and MSJ kind of fell apart, I feel, in the ladder tomb section there on lap number 2. Hojin, lap 1, he navigated it perfectly. Lap number 2 there, a little bit more pressure, a couple more bodies around him, wasn't able to make the same magic happen, and now we are all tied, Peter, 2-2.
This is such a treat to watch, Nate. I feel like both teams are absolutely on their top forms today as we get ready to enter round number 5, a track chosen by Liiv SANDBOX in Desert Construction Chaos.
Desert Construction Chaos, a track where blocking and sweeping feels to reign supreme. We'll see which one of these teams is able to better execute on those slopes as we get started here. LSB with a really fantastic start again. I mean, Jimin right out of the gate in the last couple of tracks has been so strong. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 right now for LSB.
Oh my goodness,
the sweeping from Hyunsu.
Yeah, the sweeping is absolutely on point. You can see the room that he's bought for his teammates right now. 1, 2, 3 for Liiv SANDBOX, so far away. Can Hyunsu find more blocks? That is the question.
You know he's going to go for him. I mean, this has been unbelievable right out of the gate here for Hyunsu. He's going to try and block Hojin right now. Hojin looking for that inner. Hyunsu is trying to read exactly where he's going to go.
Oh,
and the sweeping
Hyunsu!
again! I mean, this is a track, we said it. Sweeping reigns supreme here, and Hyunsu is giving so much space to the lead racers. Look at him in the brakes!
Oh, my
Hojin clips
goodness!
the corner! This is some of the best sweeping I have ever seen here in the KDL.
Hyunsu has such a good read right now. And MIRAENSEJONG, you can see he's holding 4 members back by himself. And finally, Hojin, he manages to pass Hyunsu. But look at the minimap. Liiv SANDBOX, they're running off with this 1, 2, 3.
This is unbelievable. Coming into this series, the production team was telling us, Hyunsu, he's the player to watch. He's the sweeper. He's going to be the key to LSB's success. And here in a pivotal track number 5, was able to create so much space. And you know, Hyunsu right now in the rear ranks at number 6. He's not on the screen right now. I guarantee he is causing problems for Hero in guard. And right now, we're halfway through the track. I feel like, barring some miracle, there is no win condition for MSJ because of Hyunsu being so unbelievably clutch.
You are absolutely right on that stay. Hojin is trying his best to catch up, but he needs Knock as well to break apart the 1-2. It seems like a task too impossible. The masterpiece that Liiv SANDBOX has presented us here in this track is such a treat to watch.
I mean, this is the lower bracket finals. The winner of this series goes off into the top 2 to fight against the Freaks for the championship. This is about as high as the competition is ever going to get. And Hyunsu just delivered what is, frankly, in my opinion, the most impressive sweeping performance we have seen from KDL preseason 1 all the way to now. For the entire duration of Kart Rider Drift, that just took me aback. It was a 1v4, and you can even see Neil absolutely laughing about it, man. Liiv SANDBOX have to be feeling so good. And what a momentum killer for MIRAENSEJONG. They had won multiple tracks in a row. I mean, they won, what, track number 2 and track number 3. Track number 4, it was relatively close. But on track 5, Construction Chaos, Hyunsu showing why he is the player to watch. I mean, that was just unbelievable.
You called this out, Say. You said going into today that Liiv SANDBOX, they have that slight edge in draft, and so far, that edge has brought them a 3-2 score. If they win round 6, they are going to win speed. Now let's find out what happens here in WKC Shanghai Circuit. And the race begins. We have Liiv SANDBOX on the left in red. This is their match point, but the track records have been tough for them so far, so MIRAENSEJONG looking for that comeback.
MIRAENSEJONG going to try and force a final track here as Liiv SANDBOX is on match point, 3-2, leading this best of 7. And for Team MSJ, it's a great start. Hero and Knock in the 1-2 position right now, although there are a lot of angles, a lot of different builds racers can go for. You see a lot of racers prioritize the pavement. Occasionally you'll go for grass for some very specific cuts, if you can pair those with boosts. But for now, MSJ really in a dominating position, and it's not just because of Hero in position number 1. The midfield as well is so strong.
And you can see so much emphasis right now from Knock. He's been trying to sweep out Liiv SANDBOX from getting into that 1-2. In fact, he went for a very aggressive maneuver there. It didn't work out because Byung-soo, he got bolstered forward off that. Now you can see Liiv SANDBOX, they may be able to grab this 1-2 if Hero falters.
Yeah, I mean, the midfield for MSJ is still very strong, but if Liiv SANDBOX could actually convert this 1-2, that is a win condition. They're getting really close. Even the 1-4 right now for LSB. As Hyunsu and Neil in the rear ranks are starting to close the distance on the strong midfield of MIRAENSEJONG, means that Liiv SANDBOX might be able to take speed mode with this victory.
That's the angle that Jimin is trying to have for his teammates here as Hero and Hojin lining up the 2-3 now. Liiv SANDBOX, they are super close to MIRAENSEJONG in the point. Jimin needs to keep up this lead, and you can see Hyunsu coming in for a Hail Mary play. Byung-soo to line up as well, as it seems MIRAENSEJONG, they're not able to dethrone Liiv SANDBOX off their win and speed.
Yeah, the 1-4-5 is see even more laughter coming out from LSB. That one felt really scary over the duration of that race. You know, MIRAENSEJONG, they were slightly behind in points for a long time, but they were in a great position to actually come across that finish line with a victory, given how strong their midfield was. But the rear ranks of LSB came through in the clutch to reinforce, and Jimin setting a new record, beating Knock's record by almost a third of a second. And that's going to be LSB taking team speed mode, 4-2.
Jimin absolutely raced out of his mind there on round 6. It felt like the rank 1 position that he was holding was such a big advantage based on the distance he had from the 2 and 3 from MIRAENSEJONG, which is why despite the strong midfield on the side of MIRAENSEJONG, it felt like Liiv SANDBOX was leading the whole time. So I feel like all of our players today here on both teams are really just getting up in that highlight right now. You can see they're on peak form.
Absolutely, Peter. I mean, this was a stellar match, 4-2, but really heroics from Hyunsu there. And the penultimate track, the third win there for Liiv SANDBOX was just so clutch. I mean, it's unbelievable what he was able to do, and I feel like that momentum was really sapped from MIRAENSEJONG. And so now if MSJ, led by Hojin, want to come through with the victory here, it's going to happen in item mode. And it's worth noting that MIRAENSEJONG, they are running a 4-man squad, and yes, they are very capable of winning in item mode. They have a great item mode record over the course of this season, but they don't have the same depth that Liiv SANDBOX does, being able to swap out Neil and bring in Dalda, their item ace.
Yeah, and now we can take a look at the item track list that we drafted earlier, and because Liiv SANDBOX took speed priority, MIRAENSEJONG, they managed to take 4 tracks for themselves. And coming into today, we've seen many of our professional teams in Seongnam Brox, as well as Guangdong Freaks predicting that Liiv SANDBOX, they might actually take it 2-0 today. And it gives a little glimpse. Maybe our teams are saying Liiv SANDBOX might be the better item mode team so far. So MIRAENSEJONG, they have quite the wall to climb back.
Yeah, but MIRAENSEJONG, they have been clutch in item mode in the past. I feel like this is a little bit more close than speed mode on paper here between Liiv SANDBOX and MIRAENSEJONG, despite MSJ running just that 4-man squad, as we mentioned before. And in terms of the draft, the fact that LSB in Track 2, Track 3, and Track 4 have the same 3 tracks they won in a row consecutively against the Guangdong Freaks means that the pressure here on MIRAENSEJONG is going to be so strong out of the gates early. Let's kick off this best of 7 in item mode here on Village Clock Tower Crossing.
And the race begins. MIRAENSEJONG brings us to a 2-star difficulty track for our item round 1. As we see the players, they have managed to pick up a lot of shields early on in the beginning portion of the race. So it is likely that we're going to see some of these leads being held onto as the UFOs also now pile on to Hero here. He's going to get slowed down. Liiv SANDBOX, they do have such a good lead right now.
Yeah, what a nice water balloon there to slow down the item ace Dalda from Team LSB. And now Clock Tower Crossing being a 3-lap track, a lot of tempo here at play. It's going to be a lot about hitting those water balloons and trying to slow down your opponents any chance you can possibly get. And you can see LSB right now, Hyunsu and Jimin, they're trying to run away with this thing a little bit. Hyunsu does have a bit of a lead, but only 1 shield, so not too much there on defense. That water wisp, actually, I think, that was deflected there by the shield. So for a second, I thought it was the second water wisp coming out, but no. Instead, LSB still in a very comfortable position right now with both the Su duos in top 2.
Super comfortable because MIRAENSEJONG, they're having to utilize more of their inventory in order to catch up to Liiv SANDBOX, whereas Liiv SANDBOX, they've been able to hold on to these shields just waiting for the opportune moments, and you can see that advantage really piling here until MIRAENSEJONG, they're able to expertly find some great angles on their offensive items there. Now they just need to get down Hyunsu.
Yeah, and Team Liiv SANDBOX, as you were talking about items being rotated in, they had a lot of rockets available there to slow down the advance of MIRAENSEJONG, but I feel like the tables might have turned a little bit here. It's just only Hyunsu here in the lead. There is a water wisp that can be clocked here on either Hero or Hojin should Dalda choose to go for it, and yes, he will. Right there, does catch Hojin. Slows him down a little bit. Hero as well, and once again, the tables are turning here. It's lap number 3, Liiv SANDBOX in really a fantastic position as Dalda is starting to run with it away with this one a little bit. Nitro's now coming in from guard, but the water balloon catches him. All that momentum gone in an instant, and that might be the game-winning water balloon as Dalda crosses the finish line first, and Liiv SANDBOX picks up track number 1.
Jimin with the excellent water bomb usage there. You can see our cameraman capturing his face because he absolutely carried that round, just as you mentioned, State. Dalda, he was the only person gunning for that rank 1 position from Liiv SANDBOX, and Jimin, this is the man that allowed it to happen.
I feel like it was really close if that Nitrous was able to actually come through.
Yeah.
There was a chance that MIRAENSEJONG could really make a show of it, but instead that water balloon, one of the most clutch ones that we've seen there on Clock Tower Crossing. I feel like Clock Tower Crossing, generally not one of those tracks where you have these highly impactful water balloons, but that one was perfectly placed, perfectly timed, and MIRAENSEJONG just had all the winds taken out of their sails, and that is 3 tracks they have lost in a row, and some of them in really kind of painful fashion. So the pressure is on right now. They need to win 4 more tracks here in item if they want to force that ace match. But now we're going to Liiv SANDBOX's comfort zone. They've been so good on Graveyard Dark Castle in the postseason so far. Let's see if they can keep it up. Let's move on to item mode, round number 2. as we get started here on Graveyard Dark Castle, I just want to recap this again. Liiv SANDBOX versus Guangdong Freaks. They did lose in item mode, but they won on Dark Castle, Venice, and Motherlode. 3 tracks in a row. Round 2, round 3, round 4. And that's the sequence of tracks, Peter, that is beginning right now. So if Liiv SANDBOX can continue to deliver the same performance they did against the Freaks, the best team in the league here against MSJ, it's going to be really a David versus Goliath situation for MIRAENSEJONG to come through with a win.
And Liiv SANDBOX, they are so comfortable on this track. You can see Jimin, he took a big water bomb there, and that is going to throw a big attack onto Liiv SANDBOX's plan here. But you can see the recovery, Byungsu and Jimin, it's immediate because this is their track.
Yeah, I mean, they're just in a great position. Jimin, formerly the item ace here of LSB, just been really a superstar for them as LSB kind of has the advantage of having basically 2 item aces at the top of their roster. Both Dalda and Jimin are so skilled in this mode. And more attacks coming in. Knock right now in the lead, but just by a little bit. Only picks up 1 shield. I think he went for the double item there, but wasn't quite able to get it. So there is a chance that with some good attacks, LSB can start to close the distance. But for now, MIRAENSEJONG actually not looking too bad. They are going to trade places after those shields do get swapped out, but really, I'm looking at the inventories. It's 2 Angel Shields here for MSJ, 1 Angel Shield for Liiv SANDBOX, but a lot of magnets in the bank.
That's the thing, the Studio, they had their magnets since the earlier on phase, but they held on to that. They managed to catch up without utilizing that magnet, so I'm expecting a big strategy to come in near the end. Hyunsu and Byungsu, they're going to gun for that first place, and Dalda and Jimin, I assume they're looking for angels in the back.
Man, they finally got a Thunderbolt right now on Byungsu, but little do they know that Hero actually has an Angel Shield. Now, this is a 2-star track, so no radar coming out. They are not going to be aware of that. The Angel Shield response here for MIRAENSEJONG is going to have to be so clutch against that Thunderbolt as Jimin does get swiped again here. 500 meters go. That Thunderbolt has to get popped right now, and it does. Angel Shield comes in and dispels it. Jimin is in the lead, and now the magnets are coming through. Hyunsu is going to be the first one across the finish line, and you called it, Peter. The magnets there for the Su duo, so clutch. And Liiv SANDBOX now 2 track wins away from victory here against MIRAENSEJONG.
Liiv SANDBOX absolutely riding the highs right now. It feels like nothing can stop this team. At the end there, you can see in the player inventory that every single player exhausted all of their items there in order to stop Hyunsu. But the magnet was there for him. He popped it at the most opportune moment, and his teammates were able to support him perfectly on that front as well.
Peter, is that 5 track wins in a row for Team Liiv SANDBOX across speed and item?
Actually,
that is
yeah.
unbelievable, man.
Doing so great tonight, State.
It all started on Desert Construction Chaos. I think Hyunsu just completely sapped the strength and power. He sucked the souls out of MIRAENSEJONG with that unbelievable sweeping, and since then, Liiv SANDBOX has been absolutely on fire. Can they keep that momentum going? Let's find out. We're going to the next track. It's going to be World Tour Venice.
Liiv SANDBOX leading 2-0 as we come into round 3, a track chosen by MIRAENSEJONG here. It is a 3-star difficulty track, and if there's anything we know about Venice Gondola Tour, it is that the itemization is going to be important near the end, as well as your tempo.
Yeah, you really want to set up for that finish line with some really clutch items, but up until then, because it is, even though it's a 2-lap track, relatively long, playing tempo to the best of your advantage is a winning formula. So Sirens are going to be absolutely clutch. There are some tight corners where we come through. Oh my goodness, Jimin actually with a wow, what the? You see all those attacks come through? There was double water balloon, and Jimin with a magnet siren combo was able to actually spin out 2 of the players there from MSJ. We were talking about tempo. That's a good way to get started. Look at the minimap. Look how far ahead Byungsu is right now. And Liiv SANDBOX, not only do they have this Angel Shield on Jimin, but Byungsu has 2 shields himself.
Yeah, Liiv SANDBOX looking so good in their positions right now, and if there's anything I learned from watching Venice Gondola Tour being played by Desperado, their strategy revolved around catapulting 1 player to the front, which was Banana, as an excellent water bomb comes in. So now, speaking of that 1 player, Byungsu has so much pressure on him.
I think Jimin actually emoted after that water balloon hit his. He recognized that was a really good one. And I feel like the tables have kind of turned right now here as we start lap number 2. Hero knock in guard in the lead. Hero holding on. Oh man, that was a clutch shield coming through. Great reaction time there by Byungsu. As Nock will get slowed down. EMP, or excuse me, UFO also there on Hero, slowing him as well. So there are plays here for Liiv SANDBOX. They're starting to come back. Another UFO abducts Hero again.
And another water wisp. It feels
Oh,
like Liiv
wow.
SANDBOX, they're getting that momentum back as Byungsu and Jimin, the duo is speeding across. A great usage of shield from Byungsu there, but he's going to be caught out by the next one.
And MSJ barely dodges that water balloon. So clutch there from Hojin and Guard. It's Guard with that shield to be able to dispel one of the attacks, but the UFO comes through again. 500 meters to the finish line. Byungsu, he does have a Nitro. He's going to pop in, but Guard, I think he has just too much momentum.
Ooh.
There's not enough attacks here for Liiv SANDBOX, and Guard is going to be the first player across the finish line. Finally, MIRAENSEJONG stops the bleeding. They had lost 5 tracks in a row, but now you're in item mode. Finally, again, they are showing life.
Man, that Guard build was insane near the end there. He completely skipped that bridge part by utilizing his Nitros. He just jumped that gap in the river. I've never seen anything like that. It's a phenomenal thing to watch here, and I'm glad that it's starting to come out, these strategies here in the lower bracket semifinals.
I mean, MIRAENSEJONG coming into this one, we were giving the advantage a little bit there for Liiv SANDBOX in speed, just overall on paper. They seem to be the better speed team, but MIRAENSEJONG can hang with the best of them when it comes to item mode. It didn't feel like that was going to be the story today with LSB winning both track 1 and track 2 in item in such dominating fashion, but MIRAENSEJONG absolutely fighting back. They're going to try their best to tie it up here in track number 4 in just a moment. They would love to force an ace match here, Peter.
That would certainly be the game plan for MIRAENSEJONG. We mentioned that MIRAENSEJONG, their team, most experienced in ace match here, so we'll see if they can bring us to that. They first need to win round 4 here in the Mind Mother Load.
Off we go here in track number 4, a track where MIRAENSEJONG is yet to be defeated, but Liiv SANDBOX, a formidable opponent as well. 83% win streak is Dalda. Only picking up 1 item right there out of the gates. Really not a lot of attacks, a lot of shields and a radar getting picked up. So kind of a slow start here in terms of aggression.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see MIRAENSEJONG, they're really relying on Guard here to be that front loader. He's got that double shield as well. And here in Hojin, they're going to toss their water bombs in order to bolster this lead further as now Knock comes in.
And Knock able to take that shortcut. We'll be able to close the distance a little bit right here and move up into first place as Hojin's going to try and take the shortcut and close the distance as well. Now Hyunsu coming in with these attacks. Knock with the shields. Able to parry those, but oh, this is a really good Thunderbolt. That was with a lot of the players from MIRAENSEJONG going on the uphill portion, and once you actually lose momentum, it kind of feels like your cart loses all of its torque. It's really hard to actually climb that cliff, so a really good tempo play, getting that early Thunderbolt there for Liiv SANDBOX.
Great call there. That is absolutely the best usage of lightning you can get here in the Mind Mother Load. As we see Knock, he's got 1 shield on him, but Hyunsu, he picks up a magnet. We're seeing a lot of magnets on the side of Liiv SANDBOX right now.
Yeah, there are only 1 magnet left, as they're actually trading some of those out to try and gain a little bit of tempo right here in lap number 2. But the attacks from MIRAENSEJONG have been very strong. I feel like they're in a much more formidable position than they have been in any of the item mode tracks coming in. Even in track number 3, where they were victorious. As once again, we're going to be coming on this one. Hyunsu slowing down Knock a little bit right there with that magnet. Water balloon, that looks good, but Knock, man, that Ehon shield timing just so clutch.
Feels like Hyunsu got such an ideal usage of magnet there, but the fact that he's still so far behind Knock, who picks up yet another double shield, it feels like MIRAENSEJONG, they're really running off with this lead right now. They need a UFO to slow down Knock.
Yeah, Hyunsu for now is going to be able to pass him, but he doesn't have very much inventory space to really do much more than that. It's just the shield of the EMP, so at least for now he's safe. He does pop that EMP to dispel 1 UFO, but I think actually a second UFO came in there on Hyunsu, so really slowing down quite a bit.
Another one!
It's an alien invasion here in KDL!
Oh my goodness, but MIRAENSEJONG, they're quite losing a lot of momentum here. You can see the members all took that path. The water bomb comes in from Jimin in such a perfect time once again. And off of that, Hyunsu, he's gonna come in first for Liiv SANDBOX.
The aliens might have invaded the invincible fleet, but it was not enough as Liiv SANDBOX with some really clutch tempo plays there coming through the finish line. Had just enough of a lead and also enough bodies close to the finish line that they could really absorb a lot of aggro while also trading out some attacks themselves. So love to see that here for LSB. And now, Peter, they are only 1 track win away from joining the Freaks yet again in a finals here at the KDL. MIRAENSEJONG from here, it is do or die.
Yeah, and I got to give a lot of props to Jimin there for being able to put out this type of pressure against a team like MIRAENSEJONG, who's had such a great track-winning record in item. It was off of Jimin's water bombs that MIRAENSEJONG, they had their momentum crushed at the most important moments.
Yeah, the water bomb's really coming through the clutch so far here on a variety of different tracks, which is quite exciting to see, especially considering I believe we have Magma Cavern coming up next, which is another one of these tracks that water balloons can absolutely be pivotal in determining the victor. But right now it is match point. Liiv SANDBOX, will they win and go into the finals? Or will MIRAENSEJONG fight back?
And the match point race kicks off if Liiv SANDBOX wins this one. As you mentioned, State, they win 2-0 in speed and items, so we won't have that ace match, and Liiv SANDBOX, they'll move right on to the grand finals.
Yeah, for Liiv SANDBOX right now, this track is a 20 million Korean won track, advancing from third place into second place in the standings, and potentially has them eyeing that 100 million Korean won prize should they be able to finally defeat the Freaks. But first, to get there, they have to win one of these next tracks on match point here, round 5.
The graph is certainly looking good right now for Liiv SANDBOX's bank account, but Hojin, he manages to dodge that water bomb with a great shield. So MIRAENSEJONG, they're going to be able to have Hojin be that front runner now. He's got the double shield, and he uses it on that UFO in such a good timing.
You got to be really careful here with these attacks coming in, as Magma Cavern, one of these more precarious tracks where if you don't have the exact right line, you get hit by a rocket, you can absolutely spin out into the lava. But thus far, it seems like both teams really playing it quite safe.
Absolutely, yes, Dalda, he's going to have to eat that one there from the Water Wisp. In fact, an excellent water bomb from Hyunsu comes out, stops Hojin, and I feel like a lot of the game plan was built around Hojin in the beginning, so now knocking guard, they need to step up.
What a sick play there by Hero. Oh my goodness, he gets two. Two players actually have to go into the lava and come back. So that's a lot of momentum lost there for Team Liiv SANDBOX. Is one of the most clutch sirens we've ever seen. That's one of the reasons why I love my Magma Cavern so much. There are all these great plays you can make with sweeping, with rockets, but for right now, it's Hyunsu all by his lonesome here in first place, and that means the attacks are now coming through for MIRAENSEJONG. He gets abducted by the UFO. Water Wisp coming out. That's his last shield. He will shoot a rocket on a guard and slow him down, but now only 500 meters left to go. Hero is going to try and be the hero here for MIRAENSEJONG.
Jimin has a Magnet right now. He's got the Magnet Rush combo, so he can use that. He's saving it right now. The Water Bomb came out. The Water Wisp as well. And Hero gets caught out by that Water Bomb.
Hero gets caught by the water bomb, and Dalda comes in on the outside, and Liiv SANDBOX repeat their history. It feels like every single KDL season, it is destiny for them to make their way to the finals, and this time they're going to hope they can beat the Freaks. But I gotta say, man, MIRAENSEJONG, they played very well today. It's going to be a great top 3 performance for them to cap off this season. But man, the Invincible Fleet really showing up in a big way, both in speed and in item.
We've had some doubts for Liiv SANDBOX, but now no one doubts this team as they came into the lower bracket semifinals today. As you said, looking to be that Titan once again, going against Guangdong Freaks. Because in Kart Rider, it's not a finals if it's not Guangdong Freaks going against Liiv SANDBOX, right? That rivalry has existed for so long, and it feels like Liiv SANDBOX, they just transcended today into some superhuman form, a Super Saiyan form that is, and I feel like Liiv SANDBOX, they just have so much momentum in their tracks today.
Yeah, I mean, Liiv SANDBOX, it feels like the entire team from top to bottom played so well from the very beginning of speed all the way through item. But for me, Hyunsu just played so phenomenally with his sweeping. Some of the best sweeping we have ever seen in speed mode. If you joined the stream late and you only caught item mode, highly recommend you go back and watch some of those tracks, as Hyunsu was just absolutely on fire. A critical part of the success for Liiv SANDBOX there, and converting the 4-2 win in speed. And then an even more dominating performance from them in item mode, just really showing the depth and the brain power on this roster. Of course, Dalda right now, the item ace for Liiv SANDBOX, unbelievably clutch, as well as Jimin, the former item ace, now the hybrid player here for LSB. I mean, this is a team that is a formidable opponent, and here against MIRAENSEJONG, against a team that the fans were expecting to win, against a team that a lot of people were saying online is a super team on paper. I mean, an absolutely dominating performance, and this is the kind of performance, a 4-2 win in speed and a 4-1 win in item, that you can absolutely ride that momentum into the finals against the Freaks and have a lot of confidence.
And they absolutely needed this win here today, State. As you said, if it went to that ace match, we may have favored MIRAENSEJONG as being the likely favorite team to win, but now it's Liiv SANDBOX. They're able to crush MIRAENSEJONG today here in the lower bracket finals, and they move on to the grand finals to play against Guangdong Freaks on the 9th of December.
Yeah, December 9th, save the date. Guangdong Freaks versus Liiv SANDBOX as the preseason 1 and preseason 2 storylines continue to build up here, but you know, Peter, preseason 1, preseason 2 was a lot of fun to watch. It was fun to cast. There was a lot of prize money up for grabs, but those are preseasons for a reason.
Yeah.
It's a new game. It's a new league. They aren't in the record books. And if you're playing to be a champion, this is what you're playing for right now. You're playing for this match, Freaks versus Liiv SANDBOX. And I'm excited for it, man. That is going to be an absolutely stellar occasion on December 9th. You do not want to miss it, especially if Liiv SANDBOX can deliver the same kind of performance they delivered today against MIRAENSEJONG. I mean, they showed such great form that I almost feel like the upper bracket finals might have been a fluke with how dominating Guangdong Freaks was. I really think LSB versus Guangdong Freaks is going to be just two titans going at it nonstop, and it's going to be such a thrill to watch.
Certainly after today, I feel like a lot of the fans are now are going to be on board the invincible fleet of Liiv SANDBOX, believing in the team to bring a banger of a match for our grand finals. And I feel like a key point today is Neil as a player just stands out so much on paper and on stage, but in game today, it feels like Liiv SANDBOX as a team, they were just all getting in the highlights, taking turns that Neil didn't really have much of that spotlight, and that may be what we need from Liiv SANDBOX. We need the whole team to play at their best level.
Yeah, and I got to say for Neil as well, over the course of the round robin phase, was looking, I don't mean to sound mean, but he was looking a lot weaker than he did in preseason 1 and preseason 2.
No, you're right.
I love Neil. He's one of my favorite players, but here, even though he wasn't really taking the spotlight in this match, I feel like he was a critical part of the success from start to finish. It was absolutely, as you said, a full team effort. And so Neil, if he can continue to kind of build on this leading up to the December 9th finals, LSB is going to be really hard to beat. It feels like if you just use this one match as kind of a case sample, they've solved a lot of the issues that they've been experiencing over the course of the entire season.
I think the key was they forgot their opponent is MIRAENSEJONG today. They just came in today thinking, we're playing against Sensation, we're reverting back on that time machine, going back to Liiv SANDBOX in the preseason 1, and they absolutely did it. This is like a completely new team. As you said, when we have that grand finals of Liiv SANDBOX versus Guangdong Freaks again, I feel like the results are going to be so much different from what we previously saw.
Absolutely, and really, what a stellar match that we had today. And for MIRAENSEJONG, I'm kind of sad that they got knocked out in what turned out to be not as close of a match as a lot of people expected. I know I certainly expected this one, if not to go to an ace, to at least see a lot of track number 7s. We didn't get too much of that today, but for MIRAENSEJONG, even though their regular season journey is going to end here, this newly formed team coming in, the fact that their roster gelled so well in their debut season and got a top 3 here in the KDL where the competition is frankly better than ever is really impressive.
Definitely, I feel like it's especially hard to perform on a 4-man roster, despite Guangdong Freaks having found so much success throughout the year utilizing their 4-man roster. You can't just come in as another team and say, hey, we're going to copy the winning formula and do it. It's because it feels like usually on paper, a 5-man roster, a 6-man roster, it comes with the advantages, right? There's no downsides to it, but, you know, MIRAENSEJONG, they showcased it pretty much the best they can for a team that's not Guangdong Freaks.
Yeah, I feel like the Freaks have really been the only team that's been able to select a 4-man roster and absolutely dominate with it. You know what I mean? Yep. Oftentimes we talk about the depth of these teams in terms of having an item ace and being able to swap out someone that only specializes in speed for someone that only specializes in item mode. On LSB, that is Neil swapped out to bring in Dalda. That adds a lot of depth. It means that your players in practice, in scrims, they can completely hone their craft in one aspect of the game. And that kind of rigorous training gives you a lot of flexibility once you actually get into a match. But for MIRAENSEJONG, again, considering they came in with a 4-man roster and made it this far, and frankly, their debut performance, even though they're all veterans of Kart Rider, right?
Yeah.
It's very impressive. And, you know, if they can get the magic working together, one of the benefits also of having a 4-man roster, Peter, you only got to split that prize pool 4 ways, not 5.
That's what Guangdong Freaks, maybe that's why they've been holding that 4-man roster all along. I'm just kidding. But anyways, it feels like Liiv SANDBOX and Guangdong Freaks finals upcoming. If we see the level of pick and bans that we've seen today going against MIRAENSEJONG, I feel like it could be Liiv SANDBOX favorite even. Like you said today, 60-40 in the draft, and maybe they might be able to avoid that ace match again.
It certainly was very close between Liiv SANDBOX and the Guangdong Freaks when we went to item mode previously in the upper bracket finals. And so I think that if they can continue to perform as well as they did in item mode, they have a good chance of at least making it to the ace match.
Right.
But I'm worried about speed still. I'm still very worried about speed. Hyunsu looked absolutely on fire today. But I don't know if he's going to be able to repeat the exact same magic that he was able to show. And again, guys, if you missed it, Desert Construction Chaos, go watch that track. Hyunsu basically won that track by himself in a 1v4 with his sweeping. It was so incredible.
Yeah, as we take a look at the match results one more time here, it's worth noting that Liiv SANDBOX, they still haven't played a single ace match in the season, and that could be a cool record to boast if you're Liiv SANDBOX, if you manage to beat Guangdong Freaks in the grand finals as well without getting to that ace match.
Yeah, but I feel like an ace match is almost inevitable when we go into the team mode grand finals, you know?
It's like a high goal to reach, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least in one of the sets, right? You got to think, especially considering how close it was in item mode previously, keep in mind that Liiv SANDBOX, actually, I think they won either 2 or 3 of the same tracks against MIRAENSEJONG in item mode that they won against the Guangdong Freaks in item mode. So they certainly have a lot of tracks that they feel exceptionally comfortable with at item. And the fact that it was a 4-3 loss, 4-3 going in favor of the Freaks when those teams met in the upper bracket final makes me think that Liiv SANDBOX, they have a good chance of making it to the ace match. And although it would be very hype, I'm also kind of afraid because LSB this season are the only team that hasn't played a single ace match. And in preseason 1 and preseason 2, even though this is a star-studded team, even though they do have players like Byung-Soo, formerly known as Speed, like Neil, like Hyunsu, like Jimin, who can absolutely roll with the best of them. I mean, any of those players could be your ace in that ace match, depending on who's feeling it that day. They didn't have the best ace match record in preseason 1 and preseason 2, and so that's something that you would kind of hope that you would have a regular season to kind of workshop and get better and get some more experience. And even though all these players are veterans, so the fact that they weren't quite able to get that has me a little concerned for the finals against the Freaks.
Absolutely, and now we're going to take a look at the bracket for our postseason once again. It started off in the wildcard match. MIRAENSEJONG, they had a good run against Desperado and then against Rox Esports in the lower bracket semifinals. And today in the lower bracket finals, they fell to Liiv SANDBOX. So we're seeing a repeat of that upper bracket finals match on November 22nd as our grand finals on the 9th of December.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see the overall stats sheet between the Freaks and Liiv SANDBOX because it feels like they play pretty much every single upper bracket finals in preseasons, and they play the upper bracket finals here again. Or if they don't play in the upper bracket finals, they at least play in the finals. They've done so many head-to-head matches over the course of this entire year at the KDL.
Right.
It's kind of insane.
That's why they're the rivals, right?
I think they probably have, I'm just completely spitballing this, but if I were to guess, I would say they probably have double the matches played against each other than like any other teams have played against each other over the course of this past year, right? So they kind of know each other inside and out, but Liiv SANDBOX, despite I think one series in like the double set of a finals during one of the preseasons, hasn't been able to defeat the Freaks. The Freaks have been their kryptonite, but that's neither here nor there. We got to save that for December 9th. The next match is going to be on December 12th, Saturday, 6 p.m. KST. If you're in Korea, you can come down to the Vita 500 Freaky Coliseum and watch it live. If you're watching online, you can come in, tune in, same place as always, KDL Global, for the solo match. Cool, Neil, Not, Hero, Looting, Hojin, Sungbin, and Jimin. That is going to be an absolute thrill.
We have just 2 days of KDL left, and both days are the grand final, so you guys can't miss this one. And as far as solo match goes, it's been a completely different story over there. It feels like every single player here has just had such a wonderful time in solos. They had their moment to shine so far. The 8 players who made it to the grand finals here.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if we had kind of a surprising result, although maybe not too surprising. Something like Neil actually finally picking up a victory would be really nice here in the regular season. I would love to see him win the opening season of the KDL now that we're officially going into the standings. But we'll eventually have to decide that champion later on, guys. That's it for us here today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Check if my name in your mouth, better add the respect. Otherwise, pressure gon' be at your neck when I burn you like. This ain't a game, my aim is the throne. I'm much higher than you, like a rocket, a drone. I'm powerful, think of a stone, throwed off in my brain and I'm back to the